Power Breakfast. Top talk of the morning.
The time is 7:16. You're on Power Breakfast this morning, and I hinted to the story that we want to cover around mental health and our correctional services. On the line with us, we have Dr. Dudu Shiba, who is the Director for Mental Health at the National Health Department, as well as the spokesperson for South African Department of Correctional Services, Singabako Umalo, who's going to just talk to us about this intersection between mental health and correctional services this morning. Dr. Shiba, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Power Breakfast.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and good morning to the listeners.
So it does seem that there is a backlog here, or a unfinished value chain, as it were, where people are being found that they're not fit to stand trial, but then are still in correctional facilities unattended to.
Yes, that is an unfortunate part, but may I also indicate that ordinarily, even under normal circumstances, we will always expect that there will be few state patients that will be waiting in correctional center, waiting for the process of transfer, because you don't just get declared in court and then you are moved away immediately from the justice system to health. There are administrative processes. So after the person has been declared a state patient, the law says they will wait for that process at the correctional services, and then we transfer them after that process. However, it does happen in some of our provinces that they stay longer because of various issues there, but it's not all provinces.
Are there particular provinces where this issue is more prevalent?
Yes, our main province that is a problem is Eastern Cape, and 50%, it's usually around 50% of the waiting list or the backlog will be in Eastern Cape. And besides all other things, there is a lot of influx of state patients in the Eastern Cape. And it is alongside the high crime rates. I mean, I was looking at the crime statistics. Eastern Cape has got high crime statistics, high murder statistics, high poverty, poverty and mental health. So there is a very big push, in the Eastern Cape. And then we also have a problem in Mpumalanga, because Mpumalanga is the only province in this country that doesn't have a psychiatric hospital that has got a capacity that is your security, your infrastructure and all, that is suitable to admit this category of patients. So they get help from Gauteng, but then now Gauteng also has got its own blocks. Then Mpumalanga is one of those as well.
Let me bring in here the Department of Correctional Service, Singabako Umalo, spokesperson for the department. I'm trying to understand, is the issue here administrative on the side of correctional services, Singabako, or is it on the side of the Department of Health?
A very good morning, and thank you for having us. What we can say is that your guess is correct there. By law, correctional services cannot refuse to admit people that have a court warrant where we're instructed to admit the person, even if they are still busy with assessments in terms of their state of mind, thus leading to those specialists declaring that this person is a state patient. So even when that is done, for as long as we have not received an order saying that this person can now be transferred to a mental health institution, we have to keep that person there. We have no choice. And I must say that they do cause a disturbance. You'll also understand that our officials, in as much as we have healthcare professionals, but they are not trained in terms of dealing with mental health people or psychiatry. So you do then find those disturbances where you find that these category of people could be receiving better care in mental health institutions, but unfortunately we just have to keep them whilst waiting for a bed to be allocated. And it's correct, in the Eastern Cape, that's where we are feeling the pressure in Mpumalanga, because those two provinces, there is a serious shortage there in terms of beds.
Dr. Shiva, maybe this is a good time to ask. This question about not having enough beds, is that the core of the issue? It does seem that the Minister of Correctional Services, Peter Groenewald, he thinks that that's part of the issue. He says that he's written to the Department of Health asking for some kind of process to get more beds available to help resolve this issue. Is there a crisis in terms of beds, and is there a way forward from the National Department of Health?
Maybe let me say the beds is just part of the problem. It's not the key problem. It's a myriad of problems that are leading to this. It would need a very long interview, but I'll cut to the chase. First and foremost, you will understand that these patients have got a high level of risk. You can't just take them anywhere. You need to make sure that you have got, first and foremost, the infrastructure that is suitable. And then you also have the human resource that is skilled, because if you put people who don't know what to do, you are introducing a risk there. So part, for an example, Eastern Cape, we've been struggling with psychiatric, similarly also because of its rural nature. So you can't just put in state patients in a facility that doesn't have those, in fact, even psychiatric nurses and all, who will be able to balance the issues of security as well as, therapeutic environment. So that is one part. But then also we have a problem of a throughput, what we call a throughput. Remember, a state patient, somewhere when we are done treating, we need to say, no, we are done treating, we need to now start a process of discharging. There is a reluctance in terms of the justice and the NPA. Remember, it's the judge in chambers who can discharge a state patient. So we are sitting with a lot of applications where we need to discharge to open the space. For an example, in Free State, we are engaging. Yes.
All right.
Then also in terms of reclassifications and all. So if we are having a lot that is coming in, but then there is a blockage in terms of coming out. So it's causing all these things. It's a lot of other things that I could mention, but in the interest of time, I won't.
Siabako, maybe back to you on this one, because on the one hand, you were saying earlier that in the correctional facilities, you do not have people from health that are trained in mental health. So it seems that there's a gap on that side. And Dr. Shiba is saying, on the other hand, there are also security risks that are having to be dealt with. And then the question about the National Prosecuting Authority and others giving the go-ahead for the release. Is there a need here that is unmet about a cooperation between these two departments? Perhaps a bit of a short-term intervention just to help close some of these gaps?
We've been writing even letters to the Department of Health indicating the pressure that we are feeling, because this category of people cannot be mixed with the general inmate population. You ought to make space for them, and some of them you cannot even put them, even if it's two by cells, that's a risk. What if they hit each other there? But it's also a strain even to the resources that we have, because the type of monitoring that you need to provide is not the normal one in a correctional setup, because from time to time you ought to keep an eye in case they're doing particular things. So as a department, yes, we are feeling the pressure, and yes, continuously we're engaging with the Department of Health. We fully understand what is happening there, and whenever they find space, they do allow for those transfers to take place. But the situation, could be assisted in another way, hopefully with more resources becoming available so that we can clear these people. I can tell you now. Even
as quickly as possible,
yes, medically trained people, but this type of an illness requires something different. So
and I think, Dr. Shiba, you're right. This is a very complex issue, but one of the things it highlights is the age-old issue of silos within government. Less letters, perhaps, and a bit more strategic working together might be on the cards here. But thank you so much for giving us insight into this challenge. That's Dr. Dudu Shiba, the Director for Mental Health in the National Health Department, and also Siabako Umalo, the spokesperson for the South African Department of Correctional Services.